Good morning, welcome to CS111 Week 12 e-mentoring, and this week we'll be looking at file handling, which is part of your assignment. Let me know if you could hear me properly. Can you all hear me? Is everything okay? Alright, so let's start, I think. File handling. Good morning, Tanisoni. So file handling means reading and writing files. How do we read and write files using our C++ program? So to read and write these files, you use variables. You use variables like ifstream, offstream, and fstream. So ifstream is for input from plain text files. Offstream is for output to plain text files. And fstream is for input and output from binary files. So what are binary files here? Binary files means if we want to manipulate maybe a graphics file or a music file, MP3 file, something like that. Offstream meaning for output to plain text file. It means you want to write something to the file, then you use offstream, and ifstream for input from plain text file. Ifstream is for input from plain text file, and output is for output to the plain text file. Let's move on. So this is a simple syntax of how file works, right? The program to the file of a file. Let's look at it. First, you have to include a header file, and that header file is fstream. Whether you want to read or write, you have to use fstream, right? Or even if you want to manipulate binary, then too you have to use fstream. So include this as a header, that's the first thing, with all other headers that you need, like input, output, stream, etc., right? And then next, what do you have to do? Use ifstream for input, offstream for output, and fstream for both input and output. So here you need to specify or declare the variable which you want to do, like ifstream in file. Right, so this is a variable of type ifstream. And what happens here? In file, the same name, dot open. Now we want to open the file. What's the file name? This is the path of the file, right? Or if you do file.c underscore string, that means that you are asking the user to input the file name and then you converting it to file path, right? So call C string if the file name is a C++ string, and then in file, this looks familiar, right? Where have we used these signs? For cin, right? Remember, for cin we use these kind of symbols. So what does this mean? Ifstream is for input, right? That's why we use this. Offstream is for output, so we use the sign like cout sign. So what is this? Just a variable name and just a variable value. Let's read what does this say. Use ifstream for input, offstream for output. Okay, we've already done that, and fstream for both input and output. And this is use the same operation as with cin here. And let's look at how offstream works. Offstream, output, out, file, right? That's the name of a variable of type offstream. And then the same thing, we need to open the file, and this is called the path where the file is, right? So we open the file which is here in our C drive, output.txt, the name of the file, and then what do? We write to the file, right? This is writing to the file. This is reading from the file. So this means that you read from file and then store the first value in variable name and store the second value in variable called value, right? And here, what are we trying to do? We're trying to print the name and value read in this code. So, any questions? Is everything clear? And do give me your IDs for your attendance in the chat. And let me know if you could not hear me properly. Let's move on to the next slide. Next slide says the function, it's not a method. This getLine function, it's just talking about this, is used to read a whole line. This function is used to read the whole line up to the next new line. What does it mean? It means that if you have a file, let's say this is your txt file, you have something here like ABC, and then on the next line you have 1, 2, 3. Next line has 4, 5, 6. So getLine is used to read a whole line up to the next new line. It means getLine will read the first line up to the next new line, right? So Andrea cannot hear me. Okay. So is there only Andrea who cannot hear me, or all of you who cannot hear me? Please check your speakers, I guess. Let's move on and look at the example of how getLine function works. Okay? How getLine function works. So this is a function in file. So this is a string to read from, right? And this is the line that you need to read. So string to read into. To stop at, what does this mean? \n. You stop at new line. Takes it from the stream and throws it away. Does not store it in string. These two. This is a getLine function, example of a getLine function. String to read, it means which file to read, right? Whichever one you've opened using in file. And then this part is the line that you have to read. Any questions, by the way? And please give me your student IDs for attendance. If there is no questions, then I'll move on. Writing text output. Thank you, Timothy. Do you have any questions? And can you hear me properly? Okay. You use the operator here to send strings and numbers to an output stream, right? So opstream out file dot open, you have output dot text. So first thing, you have to declare a variable of type of string because we are writing text output, right? And then out file dot open. After declaring this, you need to open the file. And then after opening the file, let's see what's here. If in file dot fail, it means if we have failed to open this file, just in case if it doesn't exist or something, then we return 0. It means we terminate the program because the file does not exist, or maybe there is some error with the file. Otherwise, out file, the sign, right? Name, and then value. Somebody asked, hi, can you share this slide? I have recorded this e-mentoring, so you could later log into e-mentoring and look for this session, and then you could access the file as well. So this is recorded. You can access it anytime, right? Okay, let's move on. So what does this mean? We are writing to the file, writing name and value, writing text output. Let's look at the next. Let's try this question out. Write a C++ program to write number 1 to 100 in a data file, notes.txt. How will you do this? First, what do we have to do? To write a file. Let's do it together. What stream do we have to include for file reading or writing? There is a stream that we have to include, right? Which is F stream. Right. F stream. What goes next? We'll have normal things like using namespace, hashtag include, input output stream, right? We ignore those for now, but you have to put it. So in int main, what do we need in int main? Is it, since we are writing numbers 1 to 100 in a data file, what do we need? Do we need if stream or opt stream? We're writing to a file. Writing meaning we are displaying. So if we are displaying something, if it is if stream or opt stream, Panasonic says if stream. Do you all agree? The if stream, writing numbers. It means it's actually an opt stream. It's an opt stream. Let's name it, we could name anything. So I'll just say file out, right? F out. And then what's next? What do we have to do next after declaring it? We need to any other guys? You need to yes, Pakistan should be off stream because we are writing. So after declaring off stream F out, a variable which will help us in reading and writing, what's next? We open the file, right? We have to open the file. So how do we open the file? We do the name of this variable that we declared, F out, right? Thank you, Richie. We have named this file F out. You could name it in file and then do in file, right? So we have to open the file. So we need this same name here, F out, and then, oops, sorry, I'll write it again. I think I messed it up. Hashtag include, what was it? F stream, and then we had int main, and then we did upstream F out, right? So what goes next? We need to open the file, so it will be F out dot open, remember? And what goes inside here? What goes here? Here we have the path, right? So, thanks Tony. It's note.txt, the name of the file. Let's assume that the file notes.txt is in the same folder as this program where we are writing, right? And where we storing, saving our .cpp file. Right, this is the file location. Actually, this has the path of the file, right? This part. And we need to put this in quotation marks. Quotation marks, right? Now what goes next? What goes next? Guys, what goes next? Next, we try to write. Since we have now opened the file, we can now write to the file. So, to write numbers from 1 to 100, let's have a simple for loop, right? Out name value. Okay. Right, to write we need this kind, right? Because we are outputting. So, now we need to write numbers from 1 to 100. How will we write numbers from 1 to 100? Let's have a for loop, right? For loop will make our work easier. So int I is equal to 0, I is less than 100, then I plus, and then we do F out. Remember, this is the name we need to use. F out I. And then maybe we have space or \n or something. Semicolon. Something like this. Hold on, but our I is not 0, right? We start from 1. It says 1 to 100, and then this needs to be equal to 100. So we are printing 1 to 100 using this for loop. And it's actually the same as doing a cout statement. However, this time we are using the variable which is declared as opstring to write to a file. So the logic is basically the same, just a little change in syntax, because this time we're not printing in the console, but we are printing in the file. So I think this is it. But one thing we have forgotten to do here, which is quite important. What is that one thing we have forgotten in our code? In our file writing code. Any guesses? What have we missed? Any idea? So we have declared a variable fout. We did fout.open, and then we have opened the file node.txt. Then we have a simple for loop to write numbers from 1 to 100 in our data file called node.txt, right? So we have missed something here. Here. What goes after that? Apart from return 0, of course. There's something else, and system pause, but something regarding file reading we have missed. That is, we have to, since we have opened a file, we need to close the file as well. So what's the syntax of closing a file? We use the same name, fout.close. fout.close. And that's it. Right? Let's move on. Any questions you guys have? Please do ask, because your assignment is regarding file reading and writing, I think. So, thanks Peter for your ID. fout.close. Thanks, David. So, if there's no questions, then we move on to the next slide. Okay. Someone asked me, can we change the drive for the file? Yeah, sure. You can just say, for example, in node.txt, you can just have D. Maybe you using D drive, and then you have these slashes or these slashes, and then you can tell which folder. You can do that. Could be any drive. You can change it. So here we are reading a file which is in the same folder as your program. That's why I haven't put the path. But you can put a path if it's not in the same folder as your program. You have to specify where exactly is your txt file. Any other question? And if you haven't given me your IDs, please do so. And how does this read? Okay, this is writing, right? How will this read? Good question. So if, for example, we want to read this, how would we do that? We'll simply, for example, we've already, oops, this looks weird. Okay, let's clean this. Let's read it now. So we have already written something to the file, right? What have we written to the file? Numbers from 1 to 100. So if you want to read this file that we have written, we need the same f string, but you don't have to declare it again if it's the same program, right? So let's imagine we're continuing from the previous code. So we can do, this time we need if string in our int name, right? If string, and let's name our file fin, right? And then we do fin.open, again the same code, right? Node.txt, and then what do? We've opened the file. We can now read from the file. How will we read this one? So we can do again for int I is equal to 0. Sorry, int I is equal to 0. I is 1, right? I is less than 100. Or you can also do 0 to 100, because we need to read 100 times, right? So 0 to 99 will be 100. And then we do I as plus. and then we read the file. Since we are reading from the file, we need to save it somewhere in our variable. So in this example, let me, since it's from 1 to 100, I'll make an array of variables, right? So let's say array of integers, integer array of size 100, right? And I'm trying to do is if f in r I, something like that. And how do we go to a new line? How do we know that we need to read the next line? Any idea? Any questions so far? And L is for writing on to the next line. But how about we are reading the next line? How does it know that it shouldn't go, it shouldn't keep going to the blank spaces? For example, we have 1, right? And then after 1 there is blank spaces. And on the next line we have 2. So how does it know not to read those blanks, but to read the next line? Any idea? It's actually not and L. So use double quotes. Use double quotes. Double quotes is for just a one blank space. You want to ignore entire blank space. Any other ideas? Since this is the last question, so we can take time to finish it and to discuss. Any other idea? Any other guesses? Can we ask question apart from this topic? Sure, Peter, you can ask question apart from this topic, and please call me Mayuri. You can ask me a question apart from this as well, but let's try and complete that. How do we read the next line? There is a question. Okay, can you brief explain the difference of parameter and reference? Sure, I can use semicolon. No, my bad. Now we don't have we need something before we put a semicolon. Nathan and Peter, can a brackets with quotations? You mean You mean like this? That wouldn't tell to go to the next line. Just a bracket, that wouldn't tell to go to the next line as well. I think there is a particular function for that. F in is equal to R semicolon. F in is equal to array I and just a semicolon. How would it know that it doesn't have to read the something which is beside the first character? Like first character is 1, so beside 1 there is blank spaces. If we just do array I, it may not work. We're reading a file. Any other thing guys have? Hey, I'm out. I'll go with our discussion. I'll join in later. Okay, Peter is asking what's the difference between parameter and reference. So parameter is whatever that goes in a function, right? I mean the argument that needs to go in a function, right? Like let's say there's a function type int and there's a function, right? And then these are the parameters. Now there are two types of parameters, right? You can either pass the parameter as value or by reference. If you pass a parameter by value and don't return it, the value will not be changed. If you pass a parameter by reference and manipulate it in your function, then the value of the parameter can change. That's the difference. And now let's get back to this. What goes there? Richie says file int. But actually, if we just do fin I, it should not have an error or a problem. So that one is not. So this is not wrong. The one I'm just messaging is not wrong. Please, someone said that, right? I think that's fine. This will work. Without this, we can have a semicolon. It will work, right? But another question, what if we don't know how many lines the file has? How will you do that? Then how will you know when to stop reading? Then there is this code known as while exclamation mark. We could use fin, the name of the file, EOF. Remember, we use a for loop because we know that we have to read 100 lines. What if we don't know we have to read 100 lines? We don't know how many lines we have to read. So here you use this while, and then the condition is not fin.eof, right? What does this mean? This means while not end of file, right? Not EOF means end of file. And then you have your normal reading code here. What was our reading code? Our reading code was fin, right? I, like that. So this is another way of doing it. So now let's look. Any questions before we move on? So let's move on to the next slide. I think that's the final one. Oh, this is the solution to the previous question we've just discussed. The writing one. So it's here. Right? And the next one says sequential access and random access. There are two methods of working with file. One is sequential access. So sequential, as we've been doing, one input at a time, starting at the beginning, right? Random access is accessing random lines to read. Like you want to read line 2 only, or you want to read line 3 only of the file. So that's random access. Sequential access means you read from the top of the file to the bottom of the file. That's the difference. And now we could have a 5 minutes question and answer session, so you guys could ask me questions. Any questions? No questions? So everything is clear, whatever we've discussed today? what's the upstream header file used for? Header file is actually Fstream, right? Upstream header file is Fstream. So you hashtag include Fstream, right? So upstream and ifstream is for reading and writing. Remember, we've discussed it. Let me go back to the slides and I'll show you. Where was it? Here. Ifstream for input from plain text and upstream for output to plain text file. So upstream is for output. It's a variable type, like you have int, you have what else do you have? You have string, you have double, right? So this is upstream. It means of output to plain text file. If you want to do output to a plain text file, then you declare a variable upstream and then you name it maybe fout. It means you want to output to a file, right? And then you have to do fout.open, something like that. Any other question? Nice question, Nathan. You're welcome. So any other question? If there is no other question, then we end this session, and I hope to see you next week. All the best with your assignment as well. And sure, no questions, then we can end it here. And I'll see you next week.